Parshas Emor, Tavshin Pei. We continue this week with what we've been doing now almost the last 2 months, where we've had to say the shir because of the coronavirus. We've had to say the shir away from our normal Thursday night place, Leil Shishi at Bikur Cholim, headquarters of Lakewood, New Jersey. Now, the even more famous Bikur Cholim of Lakewood, and what a job they have done through the crisis that the entire world has been living through. And we really can't wait to get back, and we're hoping that one of these weeks that we'll actually get back and be able to do the shir as we have for more than the past 10 years. And this week, we actually have just one parsha to read. And those that will be fortunate enough to actually read the parsha, but the parsha of the week this week is Parshas Emor. Of course, there are other things going on, where this week will be Perkei Avos, Perek Daled. We're in the middle of the Nesivos Shalom Emor. Lag BaOmer is coming up. Next week is already Lag BaOmer, so there's a lot happening. But for the only time this month, we have only one parsha to read. But this parsha is jam-packed with so many things to learn about and to learn from. And one of the subjects that we would like to cover in this week's parsha is that the Torah discusses the parsha of the Moadim, the Yom Tovim. In this week's parsha, we speak about the Yom Tovim. And for those of you who have a good memory, you'll remember that the Yom Tovim are a very, very joyous part and festive part of the life of every Yid. And it was a time where families actually, I don't know if you remember, families actually used to get together and rejoice in the spirit of Yom Tov together. And the Torah tells us that it's a time to be happy, it's a time to be joyous. And we celebrate the Yom Tovim, and in this week's Parsha, we speak about that inyan. And listen to this pasuk in our Parsha that talks about the Moadim. The Torah says, Daber el b'nei Yisrael, tell the Yidden, v'omarta alehem, and say to them, Moadei Hashem, the Yom Tovim, Moadei Hashem, asher tikru'u oisam, those which you will call Mikroei Kodesh, and we're referring to the Yom Tovim, Elahei Moadoi. These are, the Torah says, these are my Yom Tovim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol says. And the Torah continues. Okay, so now we're going to speak about the Yom Tovim. And the very next pasuk, the Torah tells us, Sheishes Yomim Teoseh Melacha. 1 second, weren't we just talking about the Yom Tovim? Good question. We're going to cover that in a moment. Why are we all of a sudden speaking about the 6 days of the week? Sheishes Yomim Teoseh Melacha, Uvayoim Hashvi'i Shabbos Shabbosoin. Once again, Mikra Kodesh. So Rashi says, B'Shem, the Torah's Kehanim, that the reason Shabbos is brought into the Parsha, because we said we're going to discuss the Yom Tovim, and all of a sudden the Torah sort of digresses into speaking about Shabbos. Torah's Kehanim says that the reason Shabbos is brought into the Parsha is to tell us something very interesting. Kol ha-mechalel es ha-moyados. Anyone who is chas v'sholem mechalel the Yom Tovim, malin olav keilu chilel es ha-shabbosos. That if somebody is mechalel the Yom Tovim, it is considered as if he's mechalel Shabbos. V'chol ha-mekayem es ha-moyados. Anyone who keeps the Yom Tovim does it in the right way. Keilu mekayem es ha-shabbosos. It will be considered as if you kept the Shabbos. And see, the Shalom brings a question from the Torah's Avos on this Maimer Chazal that we just mentioned. First of all, if someone keeps Shabbos, if you actually keep Shabbos, right, it's not as if you kept Shabbos, you kept Shabbos, right? You either keep Shabbos or you don't. What does it mean? It's as if you kept the Shabbos. if one is not Shomer Shabbos? Why would it help you if you keep the Mayadim? So you're going to tell me that somebody who's Chas v'Shalom, somebody who's Mechalel Shabbos, and he keeps the Mayadim, he keeps the Yom Tovim, we're going to consider it as if he kept the Shabbos? What is this as if you kept Shabbos? You either keep Shabbos or you don't keep Shabbos. The Nesivos Shalom asks here too another question. Why does the Torah call Shabbos over here? Why does the Torah call it Mikra Kodesh? There's something very interesting we know about Judaism and the way we do our calendars. You know, Mikra Kodesh, being assigned Kedusha, calling something Kodesh, is a term that is normally reserved for the Yom Tovim, where we, as Klal Yisrael, we set the times of Rosh Chodesh. We have a mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh, so it is sort of up to us when the Yom Tovim will be. So that is called Mikra Kodesh, where we call out, where we assign a time for Yontif. We assign Rosh Chodesh and the Zmanim, and thereby establishing our calendar. But Shabbos is different, right? Shabbos in the Torah is usually referred to just Kodesh. The pasuk tells us, "Ushmartem es haShabbos." You should keep the Shabbos. Why? Ki Kodesh hi lachem. Shabbos, the kedusha of Shabbos, remains constant. It is unaffected by any action that we might take. Shabbos, we know, is every seventh day from the time that the world was set in motion. Shabbos is every seventh day. So why here, when the Torah, right after we talk about Yontif, we digress and we talk about Shabbos, and we say, and we call Shabbos Mikra Kodesh, right? It's something which is usually discussed, something which is usually only referred to when we speak of Yontif. So Nesivos Shalom brings a beautiful thought on this subject from the Sefer Divrei Moshe, and that's a Sefer that's written by Reb Moshe Midulina, who is a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, Zechus Yagen Aleinu. And listen to this beautiful thought. It's true, says Nesivos Shalom, that there's normally that delineation, there's a distinction between Shabbos and Yontif, that Yontif is based on our actions. But one needs to know that besides Shabbos being inherently Kodesh, besides Shabbos being referred to always as Kodesh, there is also a Mikra Kodesh aspect of Shabbos. And how is that so? There is a part of Shabbos that is not automatic, that is not set in motion, that is not just Kodesh. There's a part of Shabbos that comes with our doing. And in order to reach the spiritual madregos, levels of Shabbos, it requires our preparations, our hachonos for Shabbos, and our tefillos on Shabbos. You know, if you want to do Shabbos right, you want to feel Shabbos, you want to be in the right moment, in the right spirit of Shabbos, it requires your preparation. You're davening on Shabbos, you're doing things on Shabbos. So there is the Kodesh of Shabbos that never changes and that never varies. But there is also the Mikra Kodesh on Shabbos that every single one of us needs to do to reach the real feeling and level of Shabbos. So the Torah mentions Shabbos here when technically really we're opening up the parsha and we're talking about the Yom Tovim. We're talking about the Mayadim. But the Torah mentions Shabbos with the Mayadim. And the Torah says Mikra Kodesh with Shabbos over here, which is a little bit strange for the way we usually look at Shabbos. The Torah tells us Mikra Kodesh here to tell us, I just want to remind you of one thing, that Shabbos also, yes, Shabbos is generally referred to as Kodesh, but Shabbos also has the aspect of Mikra Kodesh. And the Torah is telling that to us here for that very purpose. And now we could understand this inyan. We asked a question about Kol Mekayim es Moyados, Ki'ilu Mekayim es Shabbosos. You're Mekayim the Moyados. It's considered as if you kept Shabbos. Either you keep Shabbos or you don't. Right? That was the question we had at the beginning. So the Nesivos Shalom tells us what it means is Kol Mekayim es Moyados. Anyone who keeps this part of Shabbos, you keep the rule that we generally know as Yom Tov, which requires our doing. Kol HaMekayim es Moyados, we are on Shabbos. And every Shabbos too, you need to be Mekayim, not just to keep Shabbos because Shabbos is every seventh day and Shabbos is inherently holy. Kol HaMekayim es Moyados, when you understand that there's part of Shabbos that you have to put your actions to also, where you make the preparations for Shabbos. You do the mitzvahs for Shabbos. You daven the tefillos for Shabbos the way they are supposed to be davened. So anyone who is mekayim, the hachana part of Shabbos, even though you may not be on that very high madrega where you reach the level of Shabbos where every person strives and tries to be that holy on Shabbos, you're not all the way there. But if you do the hachanas right and you do what you can do, and you put in the preparations that you are capable of doing. So Chazal tell us, then, if you are Mekayim es HaMoyados, you're Mekayim the part of the Yom Tovim, which means you putting your effort, your capabilities, don't look at anybody else. We always say that. Don't try to be like anyone else. Don't look at anyone else. You could strive to be like that, but understand what you can do. You do those things to prepare for the Shabbos, then it will be considered Ki'ilu Kayim es HaShabbosos. It's as if you reached the top level of keeping Shabbos. And someone who is not Mekayim the Mikra Kodesh on Shabbos, it's as if you were Mevatel, someone who doesn't keep the Mikra Kodesh. It's as if you were Mevatel the Shabbos because you didn't give it your effort. You didn't take the lesson of Mikra Kodesh, which means we as Klal Yisrael do your preparations, do what you're capable of, do what you are able to do. If you don't do that, then you miss the boat. Then it's Ki'ilu, unfortunately, that you are Mevatel the Shabbosos. You're not keeping your end of the deal. You're not putting in. And in Judaism, we know that so much of what we're able to get from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so much what we're able to get from Yiddishkeit is based what you put into the bank. You put in, so that the Chazal are telling us, you put into the bank, it'll earn interest, and then you could pull out more than you put in. So Mikra Kodesh is usually reserved for Yom Tov. And it is a term that we speak of the Yom Tovim because it's about the Zmanim. It's about us, Klal Yisrael, doing. But the Torah, by the Parsha of the Mayadim, by the Parsha of the Yom Tovim, the Torah wants to teach us a lesson. And right away, I'm going to tell you about the Yom Tovim. Sheishes Yomim Te'aseh Malacha, do Malacha for 6 days. Uvayom HaShvi'i Shabbat Shabbosai. What? We were just talking about the Yom Tovim. Yes, but there's a lesson to be learned for Shabbos from the Yom Tovim. It's about you, and every Jew is capable. Every Yid is capable of so much. We underestimate ourselves all the time. Look at what we've been going through the past now almost 2 months. Did we ever think we had it in our capability to survive, to thrive, to do, to the midos that we have to do every day, the mitzvahs that we do every day when we're locked away and we're not getting out and we're not seeing each other, we're not doing all of that. We're capable of doing so much more than we give ourselves credit for. So when it comes to this Shabbos, let's make the preparations for Shabbos. Let's do the Mikra Kodesh. It's this week's Parsha, and Hashem will look at us and say, look, they learned the lesson of Shabbos. They learned the lesson of this week's Parsha, and it should be a schus for every one of us that we should be able to get back together happy and healthy very soon.